Hello everyone and thanks for joining me once again in this video. Today I want to give you an overview of the color system in OxyProps, how color works to be responsive to light and dark modes and even other color schemes if you want to use them. The target is to give you a good understanding of the system so you can use it efficiently. In the video I will be using bricks, but exactly the same thing applies to Oxygen. So I have my plugin dashboard. I also have a blank page opened in Bricks so we can practice. And I have this demo site with examples of various colors. So let's start in Bricks. And one of the aspects that make OxyProps, BricsProps unique is that it gives you powerful tools to design your site easily for light and dark modes. In the builder, and this is the same in Oxygen, the plugin adds this little button. It is currently a moon, and you notice that my page canvas is dark. That's because my system is set by default to use the dark mode. If I grab my system preferences, that's set to dark, and I switch to light, the system will respond, and now my canvas will be light and my text will be dark. Back to the dark mode. And because it is not convenient to switch system light or dark modes as you are building your site, I did create this toggle. So directly from the builder, you can switch your canvas from light to dark. This way you can check at any step in your designing process if your design looks good in light and dark mode. And in order to make the best use of the plugin features for light and dark modes, it's important that you understand the logic behind the color system. In OxyProps, BricsProps, we have what I call logical colors. These are colors that are not defined after their value, but they are defined after their purpose, what we will use them for. If I click on my heading and right click on the water drop for the color typography, this will open two things. It opens the plugin color menu and it also opens Bricks color palette. And the two first rows in the plugin context menu, as well as the OP logical color palette, those colors here that the plugin created in Bricks or in Oxygen if you are in Oxygen. So these colors are logical colors. That means that depending on the context and especially depending on the color scheme, the plugin framework will reassign dynamically the values of these colors. For example, here we are in dark mode, and you can see that text 1 and text 2 colors are light colors, surface 4, 3, 2, 1 are dark, WB is black, BW is white. And that's the same in Bricks color palette. We have text 1, text 2, the 4 surfaces, BW, WB. Now let's have a look if we switch to light mode. Of course, on click, it did close the menu. Let's open our menu again. And now, for the same names, for the same logical colors, you can see that the values are different. Text 1 and text 2 are now dark. Surface 4 to 1 are now light. BW is black, WB is white. And it's the same in Bricks color palette. Text 1, text 2, the surfaces, BW, WB. So we have the same named colors, but their value changes, and it changes depending on what you did set up in the plugin dashboard, or depending on the default settings if you didn't set anything, of course. So to show you quickly, I'm in the plugin dashboard in the color section. And if I go to my canvas colors, this is where I will define my neutrals color. So my text 1, 2, and my surface 1 to 4. And the way to define your logical colors after, of course, choosing the reference color here is by opening the details of your light mode and your dark mode. And in the details, you will be able to define which shade of your reference color you want to use for each of the logical colors. So for example, if I want my surface 4 to be darker in light mode, I will go and choose a darker shade. And if I want to do the same for my dark mode, I will change surface 4 in dark mode to, for example, 400. Okay, so let's go back to our builder. The first line are the chromatic colors. The same applies for them. You also define the shades for your light and dark modes in your plugin dashboard, and you will define the shade for the named color itself, or my brand color, but also for the hover version. That's usually the one you will want to use for a hover state. Those two lines are logical colors. So when you use them, you can be sure that they will be responsive to light and dark modes. They will be responsive to color schemes. The 5 rows below are not responsive colors. They give you access to each shade of your 5 colors. But if you choose one of these, for example, let's choose my accent 75. If I change modes, it will still be my accent 75. Where if I choose my accent color, if I switch mode, it will be the dark version of it. Maybe this is not the best example because I choose shades that are close to each other, but let's have a look with my brand color, dark version. Let's switch to the light version, which is a darker one. Okay, so let's jump to our demo site, and on this page, we have our neutral colors. So the two extremes are BW, and the other one you don't see it, but it's hidden here. It's WB. Some time ago, some users asked me for giving access to black and white. It's simple, but how do we make them responsive to light and dark mode? So that's why I created those two colors, BW and WB. BW, this one, is black in light mode and white in dark mode, where WB is the opposite. It's white in light mode and black in dark mode. So just remember that the first letter represents the light mode. If you want black in light mode, and that will become white in dark mode, just use BW. Then we have text 1 and text 2. Usually for text 1, you want to use a darker shade for light mode to have a higher contrast. That's by default the text color that is used for headings in the framework. And text 2 is a bit less contrasted, and it's used for other text, body text, etc. And then you have the 4 surface colors, surface 1, 2, 3, 4. By default, surface 1 is the color used for your page and your site background. So this is surface 1. And I like to think of those surfaces as layers or elevation surface. Surface 1 being at the back, surface 4 being at the front. And we also can emphasize this effect using box shadows. Let's have a look at our dark mode. So those are still the same colors. The elements are still assigned the same color, the same logical color, BW, text 1, text 2, surface. But the framework, thanks to media queries, detected the switch to dark mode and dynamically reassigned values to these logical colors. Let's get back to our builder, switch to dark. And so maybe we want to reassign our heading to be text 1, and we want to give it a background color of surface 3. I will give it some padding so we can see it. Here we are. And now we have a heading with a text 1 color on a surface 3 background. And it is color responsive. Back to our demo site, these were the neutral colors, the ones you will usually use for your backgrounds with the various surfaces and your texts. And now let's have a look at our chromatic colors. We have 4 chromatic colors. They have arbitrary names, brand, accent, links, and visited. Of course, you can use them as you wish, independently of their names. But if you activated the plugin global settings or the default theme in Bricks, or if you use the normalized style sheet that you can activate or unactivate from your plugin dashboard, links is the color that will be used by default for your links on your site. So any text link with no specific styling will use your link's color. And by default, also the visited state of your link. So once a user has clicked on a link, the system will use by default the visited color. Of course, you can use them for anything else. They are available for you, but it's good to know that they are the defaults for your links and the visited state of your link. All these colors have a normal shade for light and for dark mode. Usually you want to set a lighter version of your chromatic colors for the dark mode and a darker version of your chromatic colors for your light mode. These 4 colors also have a hover version. So if I hover, we can see the hover version defined from our plugin dashboard. And once again, you can design things as you like them, but it is good user interface design practice when you want to grab your user attention to increase contrast for active or overstate. So that's why by default in dark mode, the hover state is lighter than the normal state. And if I switch to light mode, the hover state is darker than the normal state because I increase contrast. For each of our colors, chromatic or the neutral ones, of course, you can define transparencies. And the way the framework works lets you define, if you wish to, unlimited versions of your transparencies. It can be 100%, but it can also be something like 71.17%. Once again, the transparencies are color responsive. If I switch to dark mode, I have the same transparencies, but this time based on the dark version of my brand color. So how do you set transparencies with OxyProps, BricsProps? Let's go back to our builder and let's add a new heading. I'll make it very big. Okay. And I want it, for example, to use my accent color with a 35% opacity. So I will go to my typography color style, right click. I will first define the reference color. So I will choose my accent color. And now I will come again to open my context menu. I will go to add opacity. And I said I want 35%. So 35 is not in the list. So I will get 30. And now that I have 30, let's go to Bricks Color Picker, select the raw version, and this is where the plugin did input the color. And as you will notice, it uses an HSL version of our accent color custom property, and the plugin did wrap it for you in an HSL function. And that's the syntax in CSS for an HSL function. And the percentage we have behind the / here is the transparency, or to be correct, the opacity. So if I want 35, I'll just add a 5 here, and I will have exactly 35. And if I want 37.2, I can have 37.2. And this works with any of the colors in the OxyProps palette. So it works also for your surface. Now I have a 50% opaque surface 4. And if for some reason you want to use them, it also works for the non-responsive colors. So if I want a link 500 with a 20% opacity, I get my links 500 with 20% opacity. Just be aware that if you try to apply again an opacity when there is already an opacity set, nothing will happen. If you made a mistake, you will have to clear the field and start again. And you can always, of course, switch from dark to light mode to check what your design looks like in both modes. Let's go back to our demo site. So that was for opacities. And now they are not directly available from the color context menu. To avoid having a huge color menu, you have also access to surface version and text version for each of your chromatic colors. Once again, they are defined for light mode and they are also defined for the dark mode. So how to use them if they are not available from the context menu? Let's imagine, for example, that I want my section to have a background that will be my brand surface 2. There are two ways I can do it. One is using the CSS custom property. So I can go to background, to my color, row. To save a bit of typing, I will call my surface 2, but I will modify the CSS property and I will add brand. And unfortunately, Bricks doesn't refresh the preview, but we have it in the color dot. Let's save, refresh the builder. And here we are with the brand version of our surface 2. Of course, that's ugly. So let's remove it. Another way, maybe more simple, is to use a utility class. And if I want to use this time, for example, the surface 3 of my visited color version, I will type 3-visited and I can pick the utility class that will apply the background color to my section. So maybe that's not a good idea for the whole section, but maybe for my text. Let's try with surface 2 visited. Add some padding and make my text white, which is much more readable. Okay, so this is how you can use the surface versions for each of your chromatic color. By the way, we could do the same for our text and define the color of text 2 links, for example. And this is the text 2 version of my links color. Let's continue. And this example is just to give you a preview of how we can combine things together. We are in dark mode. Our page is surface 1. We have a card with a background of surface 3. Our texts are the default color. Text 1 for the heading, text 2 for the body text. The icon uses our accent color and the button uses our links color. And just besides, we have two other cards. The first one uses surface 3 brand as a background, uses our brand color for the heading and our brand color for the button. This one uses the visited color for the heading, the surface 3 visited for the background, and the visited color for the button. Of course, they are all color responsive. If I switch to light mode, as I used only logical colors, I don't have to redefine anything. The framework handles things for me based on what I did set up in the plugin dashboard for my light and dark modes. And to finish with, we have a handy utility class in the framework, which is a simple class. It's o-invert. And when you use it, it allows you with only this class to invert all of the colors. So this is exactly the same section duplicated from the previous one, but at the section level, I did add the o-invert class. And now everything inside my section is inverted. So we are in light mode, but it uses the dark mode versions of all my colors. And if I switch to light mode, I switch to dark mode, sorry, it uses the light version of all of my logical colors. You may wonder why it doesn't apply to the section itself. That's simply because I didn't define any background for my section. So my section background is transparent. So what I see behind is not the section background, it's my site background, it's the body background, which by default is responsive to the color scheme preference. So is using my surface one dark version. So let's have a look at the way it works. I have my section here. So let's just go and grab this class, invert. Here it is. I apply the class to my section and all colors did invert. We are in dark mode and they are using the light version. It works, it's responsive. And as the section has no background, my background is still dark, but if I apply a color to my section background, so let's go and give it, for example, a surface 4 background, you see that it's the light version that applies. And if I remove the invert class, I get back the normal shades, which are the shades defined for the dark mode. And this will bring this video to an end. I hope you enjoyed it and that you now have a much better understanding of the color system. Please leave me a comment, smash the thumbs up button. If it's not done yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you are wondering how I did achieve this snap scroll effect for my section in Bricks Builder using OxyProps or BrickProps frameworks, well, this will be a topic for our next video.